There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer and meditation. Please be seated. Good afternoon, all honorable members. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 9, Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Appropriation Bill.
I will now invite the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation to open the debate. Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson Majosi, Honorable Member, Madam Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Members of the Portfolio Committee, members of this Portfolio Committee, our Deputy Minister of DPME, Honorable Seiso Mohai. I've already acknowledged the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Teliswa Mgweba, and all the other members that are here, and honorable members of the House that are here. Director General of DPME, as well as all the other senior officials that are here from the department. Distinguished guests and members of the media and fellow South Africans. Let me just say that over the weekend, we had a government lekgotla, or a cabinet lekgotla that was held with all the other 11 members of the cabinet or of government. And we then now went through the formation of what we are calling or we are terming as the medium-term development plan of our country. That medium-term development plan, of course, is being derived from the NDP as well as Agenda 63, as well as the SDGs. From that, we have then now been able to come up with a way forward of saying that how are we going to make sure that we do services to our people as a government of national unity. During the inauguration speech, the President called for all of us together and to build a transformed, growing and inclusive economy that creates jobs for millions of job seekers and offer business opportunities to all entrepreneurs. The President was clear that the people are not interested in our ability to flex our divergent political ideologies, but that they want basic necessities of a comfortable, happy and healthy and secure life. The Parliament earlier expressed its appreciation of this aspiration when it adopted the National Development Plan Vision 2030 in 2012. Our role as the DPME is to promote coherence in government through institutionalization of planning, development of an integrated monitoring system, evaluation of critical government programs, and production of research outputs to inform decision-making of government. Working together with the National Planning Commission, which is our advisory body of our cabinet and custodian of the National Development Plan, we recommit ourselves to all the objectives and goals of the NDP and will work collectively with all partners to coordinate and integrate plans and monitor progress in the implementation of those set of development outcomes. The NPC is very clear that the realization of the NDP goals is not just the responsibility of government. Hence, the Commission has issued a call to action for the rest of society to address the identified limitation and guide the country onto a higher growth trajectory. And I must say that I'm really excited to see members of business also here to show that active citizenry becomes a reality as we make sure that we build a developmental state. We are aware that we only have 6 years left to 2030, and we are grateful of the foresight of the NPC, which undertook to start the work of the country's long-term plan. In the DPME, we have commenced in earnest to give expression to the electorate's voice as encapsulated in the NDP through the coordination of the development of the working plan framework. Going forward, we will continue to stride in policy coordination through the revival of the Policy Coordination and Advisory Services, also known as PICAS, strengthening the integrated planning and improving harmonization of planning and synergies across the state machineries. This will also assist us to be able to make sure that quality assessment of whatever policy policies or programs that are brought to be passed in cabinet should then now go through a process that will ensure that they are in line with the NDP. In this regard, we are consulting broadly to the development of the medium-term plan that I've already just spoken about of 2024 to 2029, which is a 5-year plan of government which will ensure the alignment with national imperatives and promote inclusivity. In order to ensure alignment of planning priorities and the national budget process, the DPME will continue to produce the budget prioritization framework. We're also looking at opportunities to check if we can have an office that will deal with budget implementation plan of all the government departments so that we can know and be able to assess if government departments are actually doing what they are supposed to do, most especially as it relates to their APP, so that we can timeously be able to intervene if it's necessary. We will look forward to the President's address at the opening of Parliament in the next 3 days, as it will give direction in terms of the key programs of our government. Honourable Chairperson, the Department continues to strengthen its monitoring systems to gather credible evidence and advise the President and Cabinet on progress in the implementation of set medium and long-term plans. Over the years, the Department Sector Monitoring Branch has produced in-depth reports on the performance of government and specific sectors. In May, the President launched the 30-year review report of South Africa's democratic government. The report candidly highlighted some of the major successes areas that we should celebrate as a nation and the areas of improvement that we all have to work on. Since 1994, government has sought to promote transformation and build an inclusive and prosperous country by implementing progressive legislations, policies, and establishment of critical institutions to advance and protect the country's democratic gains as well as our human rights. Today, we can attest the progressive realization of democratic gains that we can all celebrate. The lives of the majority who were massively excluded from participation in the socio-economic activities of our country and who have been subjected to abject poverty on untold stories are now living in the country where we can see improvement considerably, although there's still a lot that we need to do together as a government and as the state. Since the launch of the 30-year review report, the department has met with various sectors of society to unpack the successes, lessons, and challenges with view to inform the country's development agenda going forward. For instance, there is a conference at the University of Johannesburg later this month to do just this. The ongoing engagement with the National Economic Development and Labour Council, also known as NEDLAC, are drawing from social partners to produce recommendations for consideration in the 7th administration. Critical challenges that the 30-year review highlighted are at the center of the ongoing reflections and are already shaping the development of all our plans. Honourable Chairperson, in the Evidence Evaluation and Knowledge System branch, the DPME evaluates critical government and programs with the intention to inform improved policy implementation and development impact. This branch conducts research, data analysis, and undertakes evaluations on critical government programs with the intention to inform improved policy implementation as well as what we would like to see as an impact and outcome-based processes and action for our society. The focus of the 2024-2025 financial year is to reorientate our approach to better support the priorities of the 7th administration and the GNU. We will start a process towards updating the National Evaluation Policy Framework, and also we are believing that this new NEPF, which is the National Evaluation Policy Framework, will inform how we develop the next plans and also make sure that we do support the MTDP that I've just spoken about. We are developing dashboards and data science tools to modernize the reporting of the MTDP. This will include public-facing dashboard to accompany the biannual reporting. We also draw insights from completed research and evaluation to influence policy decisions and improved actions by departments. For instance, the cost-benefit analysis of electricity pricing policy helped strengthen the justification of the policy review of the approach adopted in the 2008 and indicated the prerequisite for successful implementation. This complemented the socio-economic impact assessment system, engaging the potential implication of major policy changes. The research of the pathways to change provided relevant policy research evidence to strengthen Pillar 6 of the National Strategic Plan of Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. The evaluation of the National Food and Nutrition Security Plan of 2018 to 2023 is instrumental in informing the development of the next phase of this plan to the period of 2024 to 2029. This is critical given its relevance and the major gaps that South Africa faces in nutrition security. The Department of Agriculture will lead in taking this forward, and we will make sure that we support them and meet with them to ensure that this becomes a reality. The evaluation of land restitution program recommended measures to accelerate restitution and prioritization of land development, settlement, and we are supporting this. We will continue to make sure that we improve how government institutions engage with affected communities. I will be meeting with the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development to discuss these recommendations as well. The evaluation on youth employment creation programs has noted the challenges of fragmentation and limited impact on youth employment. There is a strong case for consolidating some of these existing programs in order to enhance the overall design, implementation, and impact. The evaluation on the implementation of the white paper on persons living with disabilities generated important insights on the gains thus far and how certain initiatives that benefit persons living with disabilities can be sustained, and critical gaps and monitoring and enforcement can be done. We will work together, of course, with the Department of Women, Youth and Persons living with disabilities and the Department of Employment and Labor, and also the relevant civil society formation to ensure that recommendations for the youth employment and programs and the white paper on persons with disabilities are implemented timeously and effectively. In conclusion, Madam Chairperson, we would like to urge the honourable members to support this department's allocated budget. The department has been allocated a budget of 450,189,000 rands for the financial year of 2024 and 2025. We will use this budget in institutionalizing planning, monitoring and evaluation, and also making sure that critical priorities of government are taken forward. We will also make sure that we are committed to making sure that we produce evidence-based information so that we can then now be able to inform the decision-making of our government. And this we have been given a mandate by the Lekgotla, the Cabinet Lekgotla that took place 2 days ago or just over the weekend. In line with this, we will continue to make sure that we do what it takes to institutionalize planning, but also to make sure that our instruments of monitoring and evaluation do exactly what they are supposed to do. And we are going to do that by ensuring that our data analysis is based on the issues that will be from the AI, and also implementing some of the instruments that we have learned from all over the world globally. Having said this, Madam Chairperson, let me thank you for this opportunity, and I hereby table this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I will now call ANC, Honourable Mkweba.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister for Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Honorable Ms. Maruping Ramokgopa, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Seiso Muhai, Honorable Members, Director General of the Department, Dr. Nkuna, distinguished guests, good afternoon. It is an honor to stand before this august House to debate the Budget Vote 9 of the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. The National Development Plan remains the national plan of action in which we should organize all sectors of society to support and align the resources and plans. The government of national unity should grow us closer to the objectives of the National Development Plan. Honorable House Chair, the vision of the Freedom Charter and the human rights are embedded in the Constitution, and the government should progressively realize their full exercise. Without effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation, it will be impossible to judge if policy implementation is progressing and how future efforts be improved, as room for improvement always exists. Planning remains a critical pillar towards the success of any country. Honorable House Chair, the 10-year review highlights that despite incremental improvements in the planning framework and functions, massive development has been achieved over the past 30 years of the democracy. However, at a very slow pace. In order to get the National Development Plan on track, a partnership-based approach must be established by augmenting trust and cooperation amongst and between social partners. Honorable House Chair, the envisaged misalignment of planning in government can only be overcome through the finalization of the National Development Planning Framework Bill to guide development planning across all spheres of government. The accountability chain in both government and legislatures needs to be tightened for the benefit of continuing to contribute towards service delivery and growing the economy with the aim of fighting poverty, unemployment, and inequalities. In addressing planning incoherence, the department has to ensure that the NDP and the National Spatial Development Framework guides planning, policy, and budgeting across the spheres of government. And the district development model should be used as a vehicle to restructure and implement the alignment of NDP and National Special Development Framework across government as a way of enhancing intergovernmental relations. Honorable House Chair, we can't improve when we can't measure. Planning, monitoring, and evaluation are at the heart of a learning-based approach of every institution. This department is bestowed with mammoth responsibility to continue to play a pivotal role in guiding government's long-term planning, strategic planning, and annual performance planning. The department's role is to lead the development of the National Development Plan's 5-year implementation plan to provide a medium-term roadmap. The journey of the 7th administration has begun. Therefore, our government, through the department, has to provide the country with a 5-year medium-term strategic framework implementation plan. Honorable members, despite legislation governing planning, monitoring, and evaluation, there will always be a distinction between planning and budgeting alignment in the public sector. The implementation of the policy framework on the integrated planning should assist the department to strengthen areas to be incorporated into the proposed National Planning Framework Bill. We appeal to the department to urgently finalize this bill in order to harmonize planning system across government to deliver well-coordinated services. Honorable House Chair, Brand SA is an entity tasked with delivering integrated marketing, communication, reputation management solutions, and intervention as it markets the South Africa brand locally and abroad. Its purpose is to develop and implement a proactive and coordinated international marketing and communication strategy for South Africa to contribute to job creation and poverty reduction, and to attract inward investment, trade, and tourism. In the 6th administration, there was a proposal to reconfigure Brand SA to be merged with Tourism South Africa, which could not succeed. We note that the two institutions will remain separate entities until other processes take place, or even that entities might not merge in future. Should circumstances dictate so, we will continue providing oversight over Brand SA in exercising its mandate. As the African National Congress, we support Budget Vote 9 of the DPME. I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now call upon DA, Honorable Christie.
House Chairperson, honourable members. The National Development Plan was formulated by the ANC majority government in the first 6 administrations. This is the 7th administration, but with a difference, an executive of national unity. As MPs, we are here for the poorest, hungry child, for the youngster entering the market desperate for a decent job, and the old age pensioner struggling to survive. Today, 49% of South Africans go to bed hungry. 1 in 4 children under the age of 5 are malnourished. In such a shocking situation, we cannot develop and nurture our future leaders. Our medium-term budget over the next 3 years amounts to just under 500 million rand per annum. The crucial question is, how do we maximize the implementation of this budget? An updated national government policy is essential. But more than that, we must have certainty from our presidency so that we, as a portfolio committee, know exactly what we are holding the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation accountable for. To the National Planning Commission, as the 2nd largest political party represented in our GNU, clarity is critical to find a way forward to contribute to our policy on national development. What is the mandate of the GNU? I'm sure the Lekgotla discussed that over the weekend. Thank you, Minister. As we are in a government together, a government united by the desire to make South Africa a prosperous and productive, happy country, I would venture to suggest that there's much to learn from the successes of the Western Cape administration and the Cape Town Metro. Essentially, creating a business-friendly environment in this province and city has spurred the growth of flourishing small, micro and medium-sized enterprises. Investment has been encouraged. Employment has markedly increased. Growth has been fostered and confidence in the future restored. Why is everybody semigrating to Cape Town and the Western Cape? Why are people from the Eastern Cape coming here to find jobs? Premier Alan Winde says, nothing stops a bullet like a job. Nothing puts food on the table like a job. So can we at national government level learn from a competent, efficient and honest provincial and local administration? 73% of the DPME budget is allocated to staffing, I note. Yes, staff is essential, but we need to make absolutely certain that we avoid a bloated staff complement through the employment of qualified, competent, and productive staff. The recently passed Public Administration Management Bill and the Public Service Amendment Bill were meant to professionalise and depoliticise our civil service. It is painfully evident that incompetence in our administrations at national, provincial and local government level has inflicted even more damage to service delivery than corruption. Our civil service staff, Directors General, their deputies, leaders of all state-owned enterprises, civil senior servants and their personnel should be carefully and fairly selected so that the most competent and qualified people are appointed. Regular performance evaluations are crucial. Those appointed to our department and all administrative departments in South Africa must be selected because of their abilities, training and competence rather than their political affiliations. As a former City of Cape Town councillor, I can say with pride that the best individuals keen to serve South Africans were appointed to the Metro, completely irrespective of their political affiliations. Service delivery was the overriding and still is the overriding mission of Cape Town. Take Lungelo Mbandazayo as an example. He hails from the Eastern Cape. He wore his first pair of shoes at the age of 11. Respected for his dedication, commitment, and integrity, with an impressive track record, he was appointed out of hundreds of applicants to manage this city because he is the most competent individual to get the job done. He was and remains the best person to fill this post, and to this day I have no idea what his political sympathies are. Frankly, I don't care, and nor should you. He was simply the most competent person to manage the City of Cape Town, and thanks to him and his team, the City of Cape Town achieves an unqualified audit by the Auditor General annually. Woo! Come on, guys, let's cheer that. I believe that our national government can learn from this and emulate the strategy of appointing a depoliticized civil service with the same success. This is the challenge to the 7th administration and this parliament, to get our country working. As the PC, we believe that in the future, the hungry child, the ambitious young job seeker, and the old age
Honourable
pensioner will
Christie.
look to us with respect and gratitude.
Your time.
I thank you. Nkosi.
Thank you.
Chair.
I will now call upon MK, Honorable Mkutama.
Thank you, House Chair, Minister, Deputy Minister. I bring you revolutionary greetings from Nkandla, where our president is. Minister, I am perturbed by the posture of your department. We have 6 years before 2030 and having to achieve the objectives of the National Development Plan. Now, 3 key objectives have to do with ending poverty, and the expression is ending poverty, dealing with unemployment and inequality. Now, 30 million of our people are poor. That is 55% of the population. How are we going to get them out of poverty in 6 years? We've already lost that battle. But there is a way in which we can address that matter if we follow the radical economic transformation project announced by President Zuma. It will start by addressing the land question, bring back the mining charter of Msebenzi Zwane, which gave black people 30% ownership in a year's time. And if you look at representation in boards, it provided for women, black people, and that sector would have been transformed and in this way contribute towards ending poverty. Right now, there's no plan, there's no determination. I don't think there's even wish. If we look at the posture of this department, when we have to address poverty in 6 years, where half the population is poor, where is the plan? Where is the plan? This ministry is supposed to be the super planning ministry where everybody is whipped into action to contribute towards the National Development Plan. We don't see that determination. Then with inequality, you know, only 10% of the population has income of 80% of the national wealth. And black people are excluded from that. It is white people. Of course, we come from apartheid, from colonialism. They kicked us out of our lands, made us poor, made us workers. We can only live by working for them. We have to address that matter. I can't see it being addressed in the next 6 years. It's impossible. Unemployment. As we speak, 32% of our people are unemployed, and the youth is, that figure goes to up to 46%. There is no plan to address unemployment. In fact, the state itself is kicking people out of jobs. Now, you need a proper state to discipline capital, just like in China. In fact, I suggest, House Chairperson, that we must go to China and go to learn how a government acts to discipline capital. There's Jack Ma, the Oppenheimer of China, who thought he was bigger than the state, and the state dealt with him, disappeared him. Now here our state is controlled by white capital. That is why our president was given R1 billion to buy a conference of a political party so that he becomes a president on behalf of white capital. And that is why we are never going to address the issues that affect our nation, because we don't have a government that represents our people. We have a government that represents white capital, captured by white capital. Political parties in this particular parliament are being funded by white capital, are funded by Stellenbosch. They represent the interests of Stellenbosch in this house. And the president, of course, got the R1 billion. There's the R1 billion. No, this is the truth. The public protector brought a report that showed that the CR17, why don't you show us who gave the president that money and why would he give them that money to buy a conference of the ANC? So we have a problem. We are not going to meet the National Development Plan goals. The unemployment is going to remain high because white capital needs super exploitation of our people to make profits, and this government, by its action, is defending the interests of white capital. We are not going to end poverty. In 2030, our people are going to be as poor as they are. Minister, the light at the end of the tunnel is not something to be celebrated. It's an oncoming train. 2029, our people must judge this government on the basis of the promise it made, unprovoked, that it will end poverty, it will end unemployment and inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now call upon EFF, Honorable Mente.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and congratulations to you. It's nice to see women occupying such levels of power. Let me greet the EFF Ground Forces, led by the very capable Commander-in-Chief, CIC Julius Malema, and the caucus of the EFF, led by the Chief Whip Floyd Nyiko Shivambu. Today we are invited, House Chair, to debate a budget allocated to a department that is called Monitoring and Evaluation. And we are going to state the reasons why we are here outrightly rejecting that budget. The department was initially created to support the National Planning Commission and facilitate the implementation of misguided National Development Plan, which was even rejected by its own alliances. COSATU was one of those. Today we are here to debate a budget of a department no one knows what it does. Today we are here, and this morning, this very same committee received a message from the Speaker of Parliament ambushing them that tomorrow they must debate the state-owned entities of this country, which the President has taken over. That is without dealing with the APPs of those SOEs. But let's come back to the monitoring and evaluation. The alignment that you were supposed to do is nowhere to be found. When you took over, you were going to create jobs. And when you took over, there were 4.5 million unemployed people. Today, there is 11 million unemployed people. Where is the monitoring? Where is the planning? Today, South Africa only grows by 2% economically. Where is the monitoring? Where is the planning? But no, let me make it very easy for our people in South Africa so that we speak the same language. Let me now invite South Africans to see what is planning and monitoring. A woman in Bakersford gives birth outside a clinic because a 24-hour clinic was changed by someone somewhere to stop working as a 24-hour clinic but operates as an 8-hour clinic. A woman comes to the clinic, is closed out, gives birth to a child that died instantly. And fortunately, the EFF is representing that woman to deal with the department and hold it accountable. But what happened, monitoring and evaluation, maybe you will answer South Africa and women in general, what should happen to women when they need to give birth at night, when you close clinics at night? When we arrived here in 2014, there was a project of water for Mzimvubu Dam for the people of OR Tambo. Kuna namhlanje akukabikho dam, akukabikho manzi, but money is gone. Where is monitoring and evaluation? Abantu baseGiyani were promised boreholes. People came here, then it was Minister Nomvula Nokonyane who told us that each borehole was costing 1.2 million. And those boreholes are nowhere to be found. A woman was battling with crocodiles in the river there in Giyani just recently. But since 2014, we've been dealing with the project of water in Kwakwa. Where's monitoring and evaluation? Midupi and Kusile budget kept going up. And we are now in the load shedding era because monitoring and evaluation could not see that corruption was eating away from the fiscus of this country. Municipalities, to name a few, Tukuluku, Mafube, Amahlati, can't pay salaries. Where is monitoring and evaluation to see that there is service delivery and there is effective and quality service that is given to the municipalities? Post office workers just lost jobs recently this year going to elections. And you wonder why the ANC dropped to the levels it dropped to. You fired more than 200 workers of the post office. And we were sitting here, all of us battling with the post office. Where was monitoring and evaluation? Scholar transport. Children are dropping out of school. You come here and ask questions, why are the kids dropping out of school? Simple. If you were monitoring what is happening to the kids that enroll at grade R, how are they going to school? How are they fed? How are they transported? How are they accommodated? Do they have sufficient teachers? Do they have adequate learning material? We wouldn't be here. We are dealing with a department that is in the presidency. A very same president that sealed his bank statements. And that's a monitoring and evaluation which we must deal with. We must do away with the so-called district development model. That's a model which is very elite. That is not going to work for the people in Insikayetu because their capacity is far below the requirement of that district DDM. You cannot bring DDM to Amahlati because right now they don't have capacity to deal with it. We must, in a very speedily manner, deal with the capacitation of the state to make sure that municipalities are able to render services. We need construction companies under the public works so that we have proper schools and clinics in this country. We need courts that are going to deliver services for our people. We need courts that are going to assist women when they're looking for maintenance. This monitoring and evaluation can't tell you how many women can access maintenance in court because these courts cannot do that. Lastly, we need separate courts for GBV. We cannot have vulnerable families sitting in court waiting for their turn to come, listening to people who stole a loaf of bread and the cases that mean absolutely nothing to their families. We need to bring justice to the women that suffer the injustices of GBV. And the courts of Free State must please bring justice to the women who were found bent beyond recognition because they were the victims of GBV. We need a monitoring and evaluation that is going to assist this country to move forward. But we cannot have that if we have a president that doesn't want to be held accountable, a president that cannot come here and tell us how did he get into the echelons of power, a president who keeps money under the mattresses, and a parliament that keeps a Section 89 report at bay. It must come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, there is a problem with time here, but I'm sure that Honorable Mente saw that she had plenty of time, that I did not disturb her. I don't know what's happening with our monitor, but it keeps on flashing different times. So what we will do now is that we'll not consider that one only, but I do hope that maybe we have a stopwatch as well, so that we are able to then have a constant time that will follow. But I'm just alerting members as they come to the podium that do not be disturbed by this one. We can see that it has a lot of problems. I'm sure Honorable Mente got more than 4 minutes. But now I will call upon IFP Inkosi Buthelezi.
I think maybe, Honorable Chair, you forgot just to state maiden. So that,
I'm sorry, Nkosi Buthelezi.
Thank you.
It's not written here that it's your maiden speech, but yes, honorable members,
Thank you.
It's Honorable Buthelezi's maiden speech. Can we please be kind?
I had to point that out, Chair. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, and your teams, honorable members in the House. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is tasked with leading the development of the National Development Plan, NDP, by facilitating, influencing, and supporting effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation of government programs aimed at improving service delivery, outcomes, and the impact on society. This is because planning and monitoring are the backbone of any successful program. A famous Chinese philosopher, Confucius, who we all know, once said, "A man who does not plan long ahead will find trouble at the door." As a result of this, it is of paramount importance that the government allocates a budget which is appropriate to the needs and functions of this department. It is equally essential that the department itself is accountable by delivering on its stipulated strategic and annual performance plans. With the committee that we serve on now as the PC on this department, we believe that the department under its current leadership, and I emphasize that if the overseeing committee does its job, I'm saying that I just need to add that caveat. We are, under its current leadership, will be able to implement turnaround strategies, especially in dealing with previous implementation shortcomings, which we all are aware of. First and foremost, to ensure that there's parallel intergovernmental cooperation amongst all concerned departments. The department needs to conduct workshops on the policy framework on integrated planning for better understanding across all departments. The previous administration taught us that this department also needs to improve the coherence and coordination across the three spheres of government by working closely with the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to develop mechanisms to enforce all spheres of government to participate in district development model fully. With the strategic placement of ministers in the GNU, we have no doubt that the minister of this department will succeed in addressing what matters to the people of this country, especially underscored by the committee having teeth, because the key here is monitoring in how we go forward. That's why I must always add that. The IFP believes that the new minister will bring about accountability and transparency in achieving objective of the GNU and NDP of service delivery by using the medium-term strategic framework, monitoring and reporting system tool. There's a continuous need to monitor the implementation of the 2019 to 2024 revised MTSF, which I've just said in full above, targets and indicators as set out in the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. And this ensures that the 2024-2029 MTSF will tackle the challenges experienced during the 2019-2024 period. The success and achievement of the department and subsequently the NDP relies heavily on collaboration, integration, and cooperation across all levels of government as well as the private sector. I just think, Minister, it would be remiss of us not to just express briefly the horror we had when we read in the weekend about that siphoning or theft to the tune of 300 million rand in the department. And really that was horrific to read. Much as we heard that now there are laptops being seized, there are suspensions, but I just think that, and they said for 10 years. And then what was actually even more painful was that that was in collusion with the workers of the department. So really things like that for us, I think that they can never be tolerated to continue to persist. Well, with those few words, thank you,
Yes,
Honorable Chairperson. The IFP supports the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Nkosi Buthelezi. I will now call PA, Honorable Folip. Sorry, Honorable Folip from Action SA.
I'm not going to worry about that. Honourable Chairperson, to achieve strong brand recognition, you must be unique, commit to market-leading customer service, and produce thought leadership content. There are 5 ways to do that. Create brand awareness, brand preference, brand reputation, brand trust, and brand loyalty. The 2024 election results are a reflection on the fact that your government, Honourable Minister, of the past 6 administrations has steadily lost all of these key indicators. We will not meet the 2030 Millennium Goal targets because of 9 wasted years plus 6 more wasted years. Your department's constitutional mandate is to oversee and evaluate public service with a view to establishing good governance and best practice principles. I've raised 3 issues from your 6 strategic goals where your department has really not done well at all. Reviewing leadership. The PMDS of department heads is deficient and the results speak for themselves. Investigating public administration. Look at local government and that you will see that there's clearly no appetite to hold cadres' feet to the fire. Promoting professional ethics. Well, our reputation with regards to ethics is really bad in South Africa. This report says that the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation recommendations are not followed and that departments should be encouraged to follow them. Encouraged, there's no such thing in government. The Minister has asked for legislative powers to encourage people. I asked the Minister, what have you done to acquire those teeth? And I can only say that the answer is you've kicked the can down the road and look at what has happened. In the words of the ANC Secretary General, the election results were a calamity. They say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and when it comes to the district development model and Operation Vulindlela, this adage certainly applies. Operation Vulindlela, which was conceptualized to achieve 5 key objectives: stabilize electricity supply, reduce cost and improve quality of digital communication, provide sustainable water demand supply, competitive, effective and efficient transport services, and a visa regime that attracts skills and grows tourism. If the truth be told, Vulindlela is a dual civil service, and this operation and all its related extra costs and location in a super presidency would not be necessary if the national departments were properly governed and officials properly managed and held accountable. Brand South Africa will never be able to fulfill its mandate to promote our national image and brand based on the past performance of your governments. And the newly established Government of National Unity will have to start from scratch to build a credible brand. For the sake of South Africa, we wish you well, because God knows we need a better government. Listening to a recent interview by the former CEO of Signia, the 2nd largest multi-management investment company in South Africa, with a portfolio worth 238 billion, Magda Wiesetska said the following, that South Africa is becoming more and more irrelevant in the global investment market. This is what is actually a calamity. Your co-minister in the presidency was quoted after this weekend's Lekgotla as saying that economic growth is the top priority. How are you going to achieve this? You can't expect Brand South Africa to do this, because putting lipstick on a pig does not change what it is. We as Action SA have committed to being a constructive opposition. We will monitor and evaluate your department's responses to our recommendations, but your department will have to perform better and fulfill its responsibilities related to monitoring and evaluation if our reputation is to improve and our economy is to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now call upon the Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Greetings to all members of the chairperson of the committee and Mayor Teliswa and all members of the Portfolio Committee. Let me appreciate the Minister in the Presidency, Mayor Marupane Ramokgopa, who has already outlined in greater depth the role that the department will play, particularly in the current period, to deal with very complex and important questions that we have to confront. Thank you very much, House Chair, once again for this opportunity. It is indeed a great opportunity, a great pleasure for me to participate in this budget vote of the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation under the 7th administration. This is particularly so as this is the first budget in the aftermath of the 7th national and provincial elections that have ushered a government of national unity. I am particularly honored to have joined such an important department, which is appropriately located at the center to drive and facilitate the implementation of the developmental outcomes in accordance with the National Development Plan. I'm certain that this government of national unity will benefit immensely from the work of this department, which is undoubtedly crucial for coordination of our work through the planning, monitoring, and evaluation. President Mandela once said, and I quote, "Vision without action is just a dream. Action without vision just passes the time, and vision with action can change the world," close quote. There are a number of issues that we need to consider as we seek to move forward. Amongst others are the recommendations of the government's 30-year review, which was led by the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Among others, the 30-year review raised the following important issues. We need to keep dedicated focus on economic growth, job creation and transformation, creating a more just society, stabilizing local government, building the state capacity and strengthening law enforcement agencies, strengthening social cohesion, nation building and democratic participation, and undertaking common programs against racism, sexism, tribalism, and all other forms of intolerance. Attend to the foreign policy based on human rights, constitutionalism, the national interest, solidarity, and peaceful resolution of conflict. We also indeed look forward later this week when President Cyril Ramaphosa will provide a State of the Nation address so that greater clarity in the nation and also issues that this department will address will come up more sharply. So, Honorable Chairperson, the frontline monitoring work of the department remains important. As I was going through various reports on the work of the DPME, I was particularly drawn to the department's increasing monitoring visits to various service delivery sites, which demonstrates the department's commitment to generating objective evidence, assessment of citizens' experience as they interface with the government. In this regard, it is worth noting that during the last financial year, the department visited a number of designated special economic zones and industrial parks to assess their effectiveness in building an inclusive economy and create the much-needed jobs. Accordingly, industrial development plays a pivotal role in Africa's journey towards greater integration and economic transformation. Furthermore, the department has been to a number of schools to assess our children's learning experience and conducted monitoring visits to various hospitals to track progress in improving access to health care. Equally, the department has also visited a number of disaster-stricken parts of our country to monitor government interventions. And I believe that the work of the department will improve as we continue to interface with the Portfolio Committee to attend to pointed areas which will be an important area in terms of ensuring that oversight accountability areas we attend to. As you are aware, honorable members, some parts of our country in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Northwest Province have been adversely affected by natural disasters, and many of the people lost their homes and valuables. In worst cases situation, many lost their family members. The department's observation is that although there are areas of improvement in the management of disasters, progress has been made to restore the dignity of families in Dilpan, Northwest. Monitoring team has observed that approximately 103 houses have been built for affected residents, internal roads being fixed, provision of water and sanitation and other socio-economic measures are on course. Building social compacts is one of the priorities of our department. This commitment is further solidified with efforts to coordinate various stakeholders and stimulate intervention. Constant interactions with various stakeholders create an opportunity to the department and government broadly to building working social compacts and foster collective efforts to mitigate service delivery challenges and policy gaps. For instance, in partnership with National Disaster Management Center and the United Nations, the department has engaged in international performance monitoring and evaluation dialogue in disaster management. These initiatives allowed the department to learn from the experiences of other countries in preparing for and responding to disasters. We also conducted a survey of bilateral and multilateral international countries to consolidate support for implementation of our national anti-corruption advisory strategies. House Chair, in order to bridge the gap between academics and the public sector, we have established a partnership with the University of Pretoria Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences. This collaboration promotes interdisciplinary approaches to evaluation and research work, ensuring that our policies are evidence-based and effective. We have also prioritized the continuous professional development of our government official in performance monitoring and evaluation, covering DPME staff in other parts of government, including provinces and local government. Through partnership with organizations like South African Association of Public Administration and Management and National School of Government, we have provided training and workshops to strengthen PME capabilities and systems. We have piloted the state-owned enterprises monetary framework in collaboration with oversight departments to assess entities under their portfolio. This initiative has enabled us to identify areas of improvement and pathways to facilitate turnaround of state-owned enterprises. We have also organized successful forums to bring together stakeholders and address challenges facing state-owned entities. And this is going to receive much more attention, particularly in the current term. The implementation of the district development model will have never been possible without collaboration of all stakeholders. This model seeks to promote integration and unison among spheres of government in planning and development. We are making inroads in the implementation of the model and accountability. Most districts have now developed their one plans, which is the central program of action for a district. We invite all South Africans to use available resources to constantly engage with the public representatives on any issue that affects their participation in the economy and access to government services. The Presidency and Government Communication and Information System have coordinated a number of presidential imbizos to provide a platform for citizens to engage with government representatives. As a DPME, we view these platforms, such as imbizos, as effective platform for gathering of essential feedback on the experience of the citizens as they interact with the government institution and representative. Governance is not an easy issue, honorable members. It's not like driving on a highway and counting how many poles you pass. We have to engage with a complex process of ensuring that the quality of lives of the people changes for the better. We also invite citizens to reach out to government through presidential hotline and to share the experience as they attempt to access basic services in any government facility. We are consistently striving to reach as many people as possible, to test their perspective of government performance and provide feedback. Our hope is for all people of South Africa to take ownership of the development of their country. We want to turn around the experience of citizens who are reaching us through the presidential hotline by introducing new channels of communication. This is critical. This is critical that we have got to ensure that our government is continuously engaged. It is therefore necessary that we continue to upgrade it and ensure that is all accessible to the majority of the people. Our plans benefit immensely from the complaints and compliments that we receive through these platforms. Chairperson,
Honorable Deputy Minister.
These improvements in our system will contribute in building a capable and ethical developmental state. Thank you.
Honorable members, the next speaker will be Honorable Zibi from Rise.
Thank you, Chair. Committee Chairperson, honorable members, Minister and Deputy Minister. When former President Zuma announced the establishment of this department, it gave the impression of a government in a hurry to build a South Africa we can all be proud of. The National Development Plan bolstered the belief that at last the government would move forward in a structured and deliberate way. Sadly, it has not been so, despite having minister after minister in the portfolio. Unemployment is worse now than it was in 2008. We spend more on servicing debt than we did 10 years ago. Debt service costs is the fastest growing budget item when this should be investment in South Africa's development. Honorable Chair, I accept that DPME has to monitor very specific performance metrics on some of the most important projects of the government. But I want to propose to you that the most important consequence is not what the President will do to ministers or not, but how the South African people will hold those in power accountable at election time. South Africans want to know how many more people will be employed each of the next 5 years. They want to know by when all the major cases of corruption will be in court and the offenders sentenced to prison. By how much will the violent crime rate be reduced in each of the next 5 years? And we want to know when every child who enters the school system will earn a good metric pass mark and get post-school training so they can get a job. Minister, measures like these may appear to be too general, but these are ways in which South Africans determine whether their lives are improving or sinking into hopelessness. The performance agreements the President has with ministers matter only insofar as there is consequence, but there generally isn't, and there hasn't been for a long time. We need less jargon and more action. We need clearer targets that speak to the lived experiences of South Africans, not consultant speak. We need immediate political consequences for negligence, corruption and failure, not litigation by NGOs to force the government to do the obvious. We cannot continue like this, otherwise this democracy will not be worth the paper it is written on. Minister, this department must no longer be complicit in the failure of the various government departments. If it is to have any credibility at all, it must prove through its actions and the powers that it acquires with the support of Parliament to be on the side of the South African people. Thank you.
Thank you. The following speaker is Honorable Kumbatka from the ANC.
Honorable Minister Ramokgopa, Honorable Deputy Minister Mohai, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, distinguished guests, and fellow South Africans. The mandate of the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is to ensure that the aspirations of the people of South Africa and the transformation agenda of our society is realized through the exercise of state power. Since its establishment in 2010, the department has developed the capacity to enhance the coordination of the government policy cycle. Its reviews undertaken every 5 years annually and mid-year have enhanced a focus on areas that require intervention from the government. Honorable members, let me emphasize that centering planning, monitoring, and evaluation around data ensures that the decisions taken are grounded in reality and that resources are used efficiently and that outcomes are effectively measured and improved. This is a very important element which also determines the trajectory of the state. The recent 30-year review is another critical report with 24 main recommendations that seek to respond to the structural challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The 7th administration also marks the last 5 years towards 2030. Despite lagging in some indicators, the government of South Africa has also made significant strides to improve the living conditions of the poor and all South Africans. The structural factors hindering our efforts to tackle inequality and unemployment are the high levels of income and asset inequality. These are not just concepts of our society, but a depiction of the struggles that impact the elderly in the rural and arid areas, the youth living without work opportunities, and the child without the sufficient home care. The level of food insecurity in our country remains high, and through this critical review, we must plan accordingly. The 30-year review noted, and I quote, There are several cross-cutting challenges that, if not overcome, will derail the country from achieving the national aspirations expressed in the NDP of 2030. The high concentration levels in various industrial sectors have reproduced inequalities. The monopolistic nature of sectors such as agriculture, mining, finance, and others requires a focus to transform our society. The redistribution of assets and income requires competition, which enables SMMEs to participate and have an increased market share. The 30-year review recommendations respond to various factors, and we expect the 7th administration to adopt policies and plans to respond to the priority of ensuring redistributive economic growth. The 2024 budget reaffirms the department's dedication towards responding to these components hindering transformation. Honourable members, to further strengthen the execution of the mandate of the department, working with the National Planning Commission, a broad research network should be harnessed to focus on the key areas identified in the 30-year review, to enhance the review of policy implementation and enhance policy development as a result of rigorous research. Our country has competitive research-intensive higher education institutions and other research and development institutions, which will further organize society behind the required action and focus our institution on resolving domestic challenges. The African National Congress, in its election manifesto, outlined 6 priorities which resulted from a review of policy implementation. The ANC manifesto comments are anchored in the trajectory of the National Development Plan, which unites all South Africans to create a better future together. The Government of National Unity, as an outcome of the vote of South Africans, has a duty to place the implementation of the NDP back on track. This should be reflected in the medium-term strategic framework, and the department should ensure that all organs of the state implementing departments, including the different medium-term strategic framework targets in the plans of all spheres of government, are included. This also requires an effective district development management coordination to ensure vertical and horizontal mainstreaming of key outcome indicators. Critical to measuring performance and ensuring outcome indicators are developed is to ensure budget prioritization and the institution's strategic framework. The realization of the NDP objectives is not only dependent on the government, but is determined by various internal and external factors, which the government should contend with to transform the living conditions of the previously marginalized. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation should be able to effectively monitor the trajectory of other role players such as business and civil society. Honourable members, we must increase our efforts to do more. Let's work together to eradicate poverty and reduce inequality. We should be intentional in our efforts to ensure a transformed South Africa, not only in words, but in meaningful action on the ground. Lastly, as the African National Congress, we support the 2024 budget, vote 9 of planning, monitoring and evaluation, and I encourage this House to support the budget because this is a representation of a trail towards growth, efficiency, and enhanced public service. And lastly, it represents a balance between aspiration and prudence and gives us an opportunity to advance the priorities of South Africa. Let's invest in our new shared future together here and now. Thank you.
Honourable members, the following order, please. Can we just have order, please? Thank you. The following speaker, is there a member of Al Jamaa in the House? A member of the NCC in the House? A member of UIT in the House? The next speaker will be Honourable Darren Bergman of the DA.
Thank you very much, Chair and Minister, Deputy Minister. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is an underplayed yet important portfolio. In successfully fulfilling its mandate, it has the potential to transform our country from a captured to a capable state. Yet unfortunately, it lies deep within the presidency, which threatens the independence of its work and buries it under layers of ministers and deputy ministers. Minister Ramakgopa seems to command authority over her portfolio, and the passion and enthusiasm of her and her deputy can be felt and seen. Unfortunately, her work is mired by micromanagement and gatekeeping within the bureaucracies of the presidency. The Minister of the Presidency first chastised her fellow ministers for hitting the ground running in their first week in office. One would have expected actually the opposite. She then went further by blaming the electorate for our bloated cabinet, once again placing herself on the front pages for the wrong reasons, misunderstanding the diverse mandate delivered by the electorate. For the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation to succeed, it must do its work independently and far, far away from gatekeeping and spin doctoring. As the debate last week demonstrated, unless the department is separated from the presidency, this committee will not be able to thoroughly assess policy and ensure the work of South Africa is fulfilled. As I argued the dangers of the State Amendment Bill concerns, which are echoed by her members of her own party and by stakeholders in civil society, I was responded to not by policy argument. Instead, her response sought to play divisive racial tactics, which are unbecoming of any minister, let alone the Minister of the Presidency. For one, she did not realize that it was fact that in 2011, during our previous census, there were de facto cases of sexual assaults and robbery that had been discussed in this committee. Had she just read her own reports, she would understand this, and that Cape Town was not the worst hit area for non-compliance, nor was it the area with the highest complaints for attacks on field workers by people or pets. Yet the minister stood at the podium and spoke as if she had not learned her lesson from the electorate on what cheap, divisive politics offers at the polls. Considering the large mandate the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is entrusted with, it is largely problematic that it faces such gatekeeping. Once the Cabinet of National Unity presents South Africa with an updated national policy program, the department must be allowed space to monitor policy, roll out and ensure accountability where necessary. There is much work to be done in breaking the barriers to opportunity in our country. In this 7th Parliament, we cannot allow cheap politicking and gatekeeping which distracts from the work of South Africans. We must deliver a growing economy that creates jobs, lifts people from poverty and allows for the quality social investments we need. That is our mandate. The committee is assured of our support in its mandate to provide support and oversight for the executive and in following KPIs earmarked for national government strategic policy. We must also ensure that we receive honest and reliable data, so where necessary, this committee is able to hold underperforming departments to account and demand recourse and remedy. This committee has a lot of work cut out for it in this Parliament. Foremost is monitoring the National State Enterprise Bill, which seeks to amalgamate state-owned enterprises into a single shareholder company. Without proper oversight, this is a recipe for state capture 2.0. Further to this, Brand SA continues to sit in limbo, as it is meant to be merged with Tourism SA. Without gatekeeping and bureaucracy, this could have long been achieved, with millions of taxpayer funds saved. This merger must be achieved in this Parliament. In this important portfolio, we have an economy to jumpstart, jobs to deliver, people to lift out of poverty, infrastructure to build, and children to educate. While I trust the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is competent, I just hope in these next 5 years she's allowed to do her work independently without fear or favour. As our elections demonstrated, it is no longer time for politics. Let us put it all the people of South Africa first. I thank you.
The next speaker is Honourable Subrati from the ANC.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister, Honourable Deputy Minister, honourable members, members of the media, fellow South Africans, allow me once again to greet you in the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of Almighty be upon us all. Honourable members, one of the legacies of the apartheid government was the separate development policy, which underdeveloped areas where the black majority lived through low resource allocation and allocated more resources to developing white areas. This has created structural disparities which would have an impact on development planning. The impact of public expenditure has improved the living conditions of South Africans, but much more needs to be done. To increase the impact of public investment and leverage the capability of the national, provincial, and local government, the sixth administration conceptualized and implemented the district development model to reinvigorate an intergovernmental approach for impact. The one district, one plan, one budget approach is a conceptually sound theoretical construct, and its implementation should be deepened. Observed weaknesses should be strengthened to ensure that there is an integrated and intergovernmental process at a conceptual level for the development of a district plan, and that budget prioritization is monitored. Characteristic of an unequal society, the problem is not only the scarcity of resources, but the skewed distribution of capital. Through fostering long-term planning at a district level, it will enable planning and orientate public and private development, leveraging the competitive advantages of those districts. This will also enable national public entities to support various catalytic projects. Catalytic projects should be informed by the long-term developmental trajectory of a district within the national plan. A district in the Northern Cape, for example, honourable members, with an increase in investment in renewable energy should begin to envision a more productive participation in the green economy value chain. A coastal region, for example, should locate its spatial location to exploit the economic opportunities. A mining district in the northwest, for example, should be able to plan its upstream and downstream development ambitions and work with the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Minerals and Petroleum to plan, to strategically allocate and mobilize resources for such development. This is the development potential of implementing the district development model effectively. This will also enable strategic planning of value chains across provinces in the South African Development Cooperation Area and in the African continental free trade areas. These opportunities exist, honourable members. It is our fruits and our nuts, it is our vehicles, our minerals, and many goods that are being consumed in Russia, in China, in Europe, in USA, in Asia, and in other regions. It is time for our local economic development planning to be anchored on a long-term vision that builds local capabilities to take advantage of the opportunities in our country, in our continent, and in the world. The transformation of the economy lies in deliberate economic planning, and our constitutional framework implores us to redress. Therefore, honourable members, the framework of planning, monitoring, and evaluation should also focus on private-driven variables to ensure policy implementation by the state shapes the market for better social and economic outcomes. We must leverage the very useful and important Stats SA in this regard. We need to always remember that the planning process is not just an administrative function, but one that gives expression to people's interests. Hence, it is a participatory process. Our district development plan should be the plans of the people, including communities, workers, civil societies, academics, private sector participants, and the collective contributions of society and of our people. When we achieve this, honorable members, we shall truly transform our society. This is a commitment the ANC has made to continue implementing such progressive policies which seek to enhance participation, accountability, and coordination of policy implementation at a local level. When clear visions which are context-driven exist, our ability to effectively align our macroeconomic policy for growth and redistribution will be enhanced. This is the strategic role of DPME should play in strengthening central planning, long-term, medium-term, and short-term planning. Our monitoring and evaluation should be geared to enable agile interventions, to improve government performance, and to inform ongoing operational planning and enable the President to intervene. Honorable members, as other members before me have painted a doom and gloom picture, to argue that this department is not a necessity, as some have tried to do, we cannot, honorable members, throw the baby out with the dirty bathwater. Honorable members, I caution myself and ourselves, if we fail to plan, then we must plan to fail. Honorable members, the solution is to strengthen the capabilities and the capacity of this department and the national planning system to improve policy implementation. The department's budget vote supports numerous programs which are important in building a capable development state. As the 7th Parliament, we will work with the department to monitor the implementation of the medium-term plan of the 7th administration. We will also play a robust oversight over the department, working together to contribute to resolving our development challenges and achieve our strategic objectives. At the last term, towards the end of 2030 NDP, we expect the department, Honourable Minister, to begin thinking how the nation should begin to craft a long-term vision of the nation. Honourable members, as I part, and to give some hope to us, I want to end on the beautiful words of Utata Madiba, who said that do not judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell down and I got up again. South Africa is a resilient country. We may be bruised, but we are not broken. We will rise. We will make our country again. We will rebuild our country. We will provide jobs. We will sort inequality, and we will address the imbalances. I thank you.
Order, please. Honourable the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and indeed we are definitely not broken. And we are definitely going to make sure that we continue with the work that the people of South Africa has said that us as the government of national unity, we should do. We are very proud because we have already been able to work together and we have already been able to develop a beautiful and a very constructive development plan that we are all going to make sure that we take down to the people and we make sure that it is implemented. The good part about the government of national unity is that most of the people in this house, including on my left, also wanted to be part of the government of national unity. That is the truth. However, let me not get into that debate. We will continue to make sure that this government of national unity becomes a success and it does serve the people of South Africa, because this is what the people of South Africa have voted for. Having said that, honorable members, let me say that evidence-based reporting.
Honorable members,
There's a point of order.
Honorable members, please don't drown out the speaker.
There's a point of order. We have been calling a point of order for the longest time, House Chair, and you are deliberately ignoring us. You are seeing us and you are deliberately ignoring us. So stop what you are doing.
Honorable member,
stop what you are doing. You are deliberately ignoring us. Stop what you are doing. This is not your house. We are members of parliament. We are right to be here. We have a right to call for points of orders. Why are you deliberately ignoring us? Stop what you are doing.
Honorable member, Minister, please. Honorable member, what is your point of order? I didn't recognize.
Honorable Minister to correct what she said. She's misleading the House when she says we wanted to be part of that GNU. We made it very clear that we don't want to become part of the GNU that includes racists. That's what we said. So the Honorable Minister must retract that thing.
Honorable members, to accuse another member of deliberately misleading the House infers that the member is deliberately lying to the House, and this is always unparliamentary. It must therefore ask that the honourable member to withdraw the statement. No, you must withdraw the statement, honourable, not you, Minister. Minister, please sit down. Honourable member, let me make this ruling again. To accuse another member of deliberately misleading the House infers that the member, in this case, the member, the Honourable Minister, is deliberately lying to the House, and this is always unparliamentary. So I must therefore ask the honourable member who raised the point of order to withdraw the statement.
No, I can't withdraw because the minister lied. She lied.
We can't.
How can I withdraw something that is true? She lied. Oh, she didn't tell the full truth here.
Honourable, I'm going to make a further ruling on what the honourable member said on withdrawing the statement, because accusing another member of lying. It is not for the chair to establish the veracity of a particular statement. The chair has to maintain an impartial position. The chair can thus not become involved in the dispute over facts and cannot be expected to judge on the accuracy of the member's remarks. Honourable, your point of order?
Thank you, House Chair, and you are correct. Number two, the word lie from the conventions of this House was replaced by mislead. And in this case, we used mislead. Therefore, there's nothing to withdraw when you are saying a member is misleading. That is a rule in the House. And number two, you can't then, when I decide that the facts that she's putting on the table, as argued by the EFF, are wrong, because you are not part and parcel of the conversation and the argument thereof. Thank you.
Honourable member, your point of order?
Mgcinisihlalo wena uhleli ngaphambili ngifuna ukuthi ngikulungise ngamanye amagama ngithi ukuthi ungqongqothe akakhuluma iqiniso mhlambe ngesikhuwa nithi misleading, I guess so, but ngesikhethu ngithi ukuthi usenga izimithiko ngiba ukuthi ukhulume naye ukuthi angasifaki nakancancane asingeni indawo endweni yejeni ukuthi thina sihleli ngapha sifuna ukuba iphathi yento kanje asakadideki ni asichaphi masifike endweni ezinjalo sirehete uburehete bethu ukuthi asifuni usho ukuthi ngembalambala ukuba seduze kwabantu abasigandelelako ngiyakuthokoza.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I go back to the second ruling that I made on the fact that the Chair is not in the position to establish the veracity of the particular statement, and therefore I also let you know now that I'm not going to take any points of order on this particular issue further. Thank you, members. Honourable Minister. Honourable Trollop, with your point of order.
Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, I just wanted to remind this House about the story of the little boy who used to cry wolf. Always crying wolf. And the parties that are always complaining about racists are themselves racist.
Well, now you are still healing from cutting the neck. You are still healing from cutting the neck of. We dealt with you, Nelson Mandela. You are still angry that you are bitter that you are no longer the mayor of Nelson Mandela. Members, cut the throat.
Honourable members, order please. Honourable members, you can take your disputes out of the House after this plenary. Honourable Minister, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair.
Honourable Member, do you have a new point of order, or do you want to raise the order?
Uyasithuka Minister, uyasithuka. Inhlambo ukuthi kwi-GNU singekho khona. Uyasithuka uMinister. Ngeke uzusibize ngento esingekho kuyona, uthi sikuyona. Yabona? Bona mebelala ndawonye bona, thina silali nabo thina. Ngiyacela ukuthi ayi-withdraw lento ayishow uMinister, ngiyacela. Akasithuka uMinister, usithuka endlini la ngaphakathi. Hayi ngeke.
Honourable Member, unfortunately, I did not hear what the Minister said. I can't rule on what she said. I was listening. Honourable Member, for your point of order.
Honourable House Chairperson, we need an urgent intervention on teaching the new members the rules. You have made a ruling and the member is taking us back. Please, Honourable House Chair.
Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Is that a new point of order or on the same point?
Yeah, it's a new.
A new one?
Yeah.
I'm going to rule against it if it's not new.
Yeah, Slalo. Ngiyacabanga ilunga eliceda ukukhuluma manje liyasidelela sibuya ku-induction nima kancane angathi kumele basifundise sibuya ku-induction kunabantu abasifundisa induction not then akahocisele ukuthi sidinga akahocisele member.
Sorry, Honourable Member, can I just ask you to speak a little bit softer and repeat because I can't hear the translation.
Lelunga eliceda ukukhuluma sihlalo sibuya ku-induction yeparliament angathi kufuneka basifundise bona sicela ukuthi awithdrawele ukuthi uzosifundisa because asifundiswa uyi akayiwithdrawele uyasidelela uyeyisa le ntombazana.
Thank you. House Chair, I will not be called Ntombazana under any circumstances.
Honourable Member, Honourable Members, please, order in this House, please. I'm not going to take any new points or any point of ruling or of order on this issue now. Any point of order that needs to be raised is about the proceedings of this House. Thank you, Minister. Please continue.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much for the ruling. As I continue in my response, I would like to just say that one of the things that is evident we need to do is that in whatever it is that we are reporting and whatever it is that we are doing, it must be evidence-based. For that reason, I would like to just implore to all the members of Parliament to also make sure that in whatever it is that we'll be bringing here, including myself as a member of Parliament, it must just be based on that, not just gossip. Having said that, Honorable Chairperson, we look forward, of course, to making sure that the State of the Nation address of the President does reflect on the agreements of the statement of intent that was signed by all the parties of the GNU, precisely because that has given effect to the MTDP that we have adopted and that we are going to process through the cabinet and make sure that that is what we will be using as our plan of action as we implement what the people of South Africa has given us a mandate to actually do. We will continue to make sure that we do quarterly reports to Cabinet so that we can then now be able to ensure that whatever it is that we are monitoring and evaluating is based on the plans that we have put in place. We will definitely be able to make sure that whatever we do as we give evidence to whatever it is that we would have been able to monitor, the reports that we'll be giving will bring solutions to our people, and that will definitely include service delivery in hospitals, in clinics, in schools, and in municipalities. But equally so, we also have to ensure that we do respect the IGR system. The regulatory system that is put in place dictates that we must respect municipalities, we must respect provinces, and we must also respect each other. It is for that reason, or for this reason, particular reason, that we are going to make sure that the framework to ensure that IGR is put in the center of ensuring that things such as DDM to become a success, it will be put in place and it will be brought to the portfolio committee to ensure that we do things accordingly as it was already requested. Service delivery becomes a very important way of ensuring that whatever it is that our people have sent us to do becomes what they need to see. And we are going to ensure that we put in place systems that will then now allow national departments to intervene in provinces, to intervene in municipalities, but in a meaningful way that is strategic, but most of all, that is regulated. We will not just go and reticulate water, for example, in a certain municipality without making sure that we follow the rules and we do whatever it is that we need to do in a way that we can then now be able to know that we uphold the Constitution and the systems that have been put in place. We can ensure and assure the members of Parliament that we hold the plight of our people very high. But the oath that we took as executive authority in this department that we have been appointed in, myself and the Deputy Minister, will ensure that we stick to it, and we also will make sure that we respect it. In that regard, we will not allow anybody to steer us away from what we said we will do under our oath. We will ensure that Constitution becomes the guiding force, but most of all, the NDP becomes the lodestar that we continue to follow. We have been able to come up with a system that will align what we do in this 5 years period with the NDP as well as the SDGs, as I've already said. And we have done that by saying that how do we move from what we have always done under the MTSF to the MTDP? The reason we are talking about the MTDP is precisely because we want to ensure that whatever it is that we do is based on development, because ours remain building a developmental state. And in this GNU, we have agreed that we are going to ensure that a developmental state will then now be able to reflect what is in the NDP. Having said that, We are going to sit down as a department, and I do believe, House Chairperson and Portfolio Chairperson, that we will bring that here. We are going to restructure our department precisely because we've got added mandate, not only from the public enterprise, but the added mandate that will ensure that monitoring and evaluation becomes what it needs to be. For example, I've already spoken about the PSEC mandate that we have been given from Presidency, that we ensure that quality and systematic way of ensuring that research and policies align will then now be given to us as a department. But not only that, in the previous term as well, we have been given the responsibility of ensuring that spatial development framework is also brought in Presidency under ourselves. As a result, for us to be able to do what we need to do, we will have to rearrange the department in such a way that it will speak to this new mandate that has been added to our department to ensure that we don't only have teeth, but we also stick to what we need to do to see that planning speaks to the plight of our people, but monitoring and evaluation will not only be done outside of what is planned, but it will be done to ensure that as we review the NDP, we do that review based on what we have agreed upon. I would not want to take so much of the time that have been given to myself, but one of the things that I was just saying to the Deputy Minister is that we are going to be attacked about some work that does not even lie in our own departments. However, we will take it because we do believe in collectivism, and we will ensure that whatever it is that is said, we take it back to where it belongs. But what we will request, Portfolio Chairperson, am I done? Okay, thank you very much.
You can finish your sentence.
Whatever it is that will be done, we request that this portfolio committee not only concentrate on us, but you must find ways of ensuring that all the other portfolio committees find a way of making sure that whatever it is that we bring here about respective departments is also being entertained in those portfolio committees. Thank you very much.
Members are reminded that 3 debates are scheduled simultaneously for 16:15 today. The Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment Budget Vote debate will be held in the Good Hope Chamber, while the National Treasury, State Security Budget Vote debate will take place in the Committee Room M46, this one. Additionally, the Defence and Military Veterans Budget Vote debate will take place in the Committee Room S12A. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini-plenary session. The mini-plenary will now rise.